All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our quarterly call with MassDEP and the Public Water Systems. My name is Jennifer Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of Mass Waterworks Association, and the call is being recorded for the purposes of us posting it after for those who can't attend. So the commissioner is on, but he won't have his camera on today. He's traveling to an event, so I will turn it over to him and we can get started. Commissioner?
Okay, very good. First of all, thank you, everybody. Appreciate being here and continuing this discussion. I have a few things, but before we do, I wanted to see, we're usually joined by Jane Downing of US EPA. Jane, are you on the line today? Are there any updates you'd like to provide?
I am on the line and I do have some updates, Commissioner. Thank you for asking. So the first one is just an update. Many of you are wondering about the lead service line inventory guidance that is currently with OMB. We are asking for an expedited review, but we expect it to be published in August. We'll try for something sooner than August. On the training, there's something in your chat. A few webinars coming up in June, the end of June. The first one is ORD Small Systems webinar on water security. They're talking about power resilience and partnerships for water treatment chemicals, which I know is an item, a concern for many of you. That webinar is on Tuesday, June 28th from 2 to 3. There is another webinar scheduled for June 29th through the 30th. That topic is energy efficiency, and it's on 12:30 to 2:30. There is a new tool that has been updated. It's a tabletop exercise tool. It's all about how to plan for a tabletop exercise. It has been expanded to include pandemic and loss of power scenarios. And again, those 3 items should be in your chat. On funding, on Monday, there was a significant announcement under the WIFIA program. They announced the availability of $5.5 billion in WIFIA. There's 4 areas of emphasis. The first one is economically stressed communities, lead service line replacements, addressing PFAS, and the last one is innovation and resilience. They're looking for letters of interest to be submitted in September 6th, and thereafter they'll be accepting letters on an ongoing basis. And if you want more information on WIFIA, you can just go into www.epa.gov/WIFIA. I will also mention the bipartisan infrastructure law funding, which was hugely significant in FY22. We will soon be looking at the application from MassDEP, and we expect to award the significant SRF grant by the end of September. For those of you who may not be on the list this year, we really ask you to be thinking about next year. Significant pots of money will continue. You have your base SRF dollars, you have supplemental base dollars in SRF. You have a significant pot, I think around 65 million for lead replacements and emergent contaminants, which includes PFAS. So a lot of things to be thinking about for funding for next year. I will say that soon you will hear even more dollars available for PFAS remediation. And finally, I would say tomorrow, be on the lookout for a significant announcement relating to PFAS. I can't tell you any more than tomorrow, but I expect it will be widely available for people to take a look at. Lots of documents to review, and also, as I said, an announcement of significant funding just for PFAS. And I think that's it for now. Thank you, Commissioner and Jen.
Thanks. And Jane, I appreciate your raising the PFAS announcement issue. We've started to get questions, and we're starting to see various entities reporting on it, and from from MassDEP's perspective, we're a little bit where all of you are. If there's updated health advisory information, we don't have it yet. We're expecting to receive it. If it is tomorrow with the announcement, we're committed to staying in contact both with EPA and with all of you, particularly with systems that this announcement might affect, in terms of what the announcement means, what an interim health advisory is, and what types of things, what types of questions it might raise, and how we that are working with communities might answer them. And we are committed to staying engaged. The first thing we're going to do is, see what actually gets announced, and take some opportunity to review the technical documents. And we will make it a point to stay in touch with Mass Waterworks and make sure that we are closely communicating.
Thank you, Commissioner. And you have my wish to be involved as well as needed.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. Yep. So, appreciate that. We'll all be sitting by the radio or by the newspaper, whatever the form of communication is, tomorrow. Let's see. I think, do we have Mike Maynard on the line? Anything from licensing that we might want to talk about?
Hi, Commissioner. Hi, everyone. There's a couple of announcements. There is the temporary emergency certifications have pretty much dried up. We're getting them sporadically, but similar to back to pre-COVID. So not that many of them, but a few of them. The other thing is, I just wanted to mention that the Board of Certification has reviewed and sent in our revisions to the regulations 236 CMR. So the DOL has those, and they're going through the internal legal review with DOL. Once those are reported out, we'll be having the DOL will be having the public information meetings, and everyone will be notified. We'll notify the associations and then distribute the invitations to come and participate in those. The other thing for the board, which is we worked which has kind of been preempted, which has been brought about by COVID, is the policy DWB 94-01. It's one of my favorites, Commissioner. I'm sure it's one of yours as well. And that's the policy for renewal of training courses. So because of COVID, we had to find a new way of doing business. The associations kind of stepped up, and a lot of the private vendors stepped up, and they started doing online trainings and distance learning. So we made a change to 94-01 at the last couple of meetings, and it is allowing for distance learning training. One of the concerns was that we want to verify that the individual who is participating in the distance learning is actually the person. So there's a number of different ways that we're hoping to make sure that we can verify that the individual who signs up and participates actually gets the TCHs. So it's been a lot of work with the board and with the associations. So that's 94-01. That should be released to the DOL website shortly. Other than that, that's about all I have. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Appreciate the updates. With that, the only other thing I might mention is there are a number of funding vehicles that we're looking at right now. As you know, the SRF program is a traditional source of funding, and was funded at a robust level this year for the 2022 intended use plans that we're working on. We're anticipating getting additional funding Again, it's over $1 billion over the next 5 years from the federal infrastructure law, and that will provide additional opportunities for funding for projects, principal forgiveness, loan forgiveness, other types of programs that fund priorities that we all work on. We are waiting still for some of the guidance from the federal government. In the meantime, the first of the ARPA legislation passed, where over $100 million was allocated, some of it going to the trust, the Clean Water Trust, some of it in, specifically earmarked projects. We're working with our colleagues at the SRF to implement that, the Clean Water Trust to implement that, as well as implement the DEP specific line items. And then the governor has also proposed additional funding for water projects in what is called the Forward Act, which contains over $60 million for water and sewer projects. That bill is still being considered by the legislature, but there are proposals we made there for a number of important areas, including CSOs and lead service line replacements. And so the administration will continue to make priority to get that legislation passed. So that's an additional source of funding. And so there's a lot going on. We do have Maria Pinode from the Clean Water Trust here in case there are, specific SRF Clean Water Trust related questions, but I just wanted to highlight that there are a number of different avenues that we're pursuing based on the different funding sources. So with that, I didn't know if Kathy, you or Yvette in the drinking water program had any updates that you wanted to offer to the program at this time.
Thank you, Marty. I do not have any updates. However, there was a question that came in from Jennifer, and I want to make sure it's one that I think was really directed to, I think Jane answered that. Sorry, that was the status on the LCR guidance and when that would become available. So I think Jane's addressed that. So I'll turn it over to Yvette to see if Yvette, if you have anything you'd like to add, or after Yvette, maybe Maria.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Marty. The one thing I wanted to mention is that we've been getting a lot of questions asking about when the lead service line inventory program and funding would be available. Maria will talk about the funding, but insofar as the program pieces that we want to make sure to put out there to help water systems, one of them is the spreadsheet that water systems can use to document their lead service line inventory. The second item is a crowds or consumer sourcing tool where water suppliers can provide it to consumers so that they can help them to identify lead service lines. And we will be using EPA app as part of that tool to describe how homeowners can go into their basements and figure out whether they have a lead service line and send that picture to the water department, who will then make a determination and decide what they want to do about it. And the third piece is making sure that all water systems that complete their inventories have a plan in mind for how they're going to remove the lead service lines that are under their jurisdiction. That information, it should be available now by September 1st at the latest. But right now we are working with a couple of water systems, more than a couple, probably a dozen water systems. We'll be working with them to basically pilot the spreadsheet. So that if you've already been contacted by us, great. I hope you'll participate. And they may be others, maybe folks that are already in the SRF pipeline who would like to pilot the forms as well. At this point, I would just turn it over to Maria to speak about the information that's already on the SRF webpage related to this.
Yes, thank you, Yvette. I'll give you a very brief summary that MassDEP and the Clean Water Trust are offering 2 programs to fund lead service line inventories and also the replacement programs. As you know, the deadline to have the inventories is October of 2024. So time is really of the essence, and the SRF program will be accepting applications for the 100% loan forgiveness planning activities to have those programs developed starting this July 1st. And the trust has dedicated $20 million to fund these programs, and applications will be received on a first come, first served basis. And there is an option for small systems to opt to work with the drinking water program and a technical assistance provider to work with that consultant to help you develop the inventories and the replacement plans. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I invite you to take a look at the intended use plan for the drinking water program for 2022. It has been amended to include this information. And I'll be very happy to accept any questions now, or if you want to send me a message by email. My email is maria.pinot@mass.gov. Also, I want to remind you that the SRF project solicitation for next year's financing cycle opens this July 1st. So please keep your eyes on when that comes. I usually send an email message, but also we post this information on the website. And we do anticipate that it will be a very strong year again. Hopefully we'll have the same, if not more, capacity for next year to offer in the IUP. This year, we provided the biggest offering for drinking water SRF of $363 million. That's a record of all time. So I'm looking forward for next year. And obviously, PFAS will be a priority. Lead service line inventory and replacement is also a priority for next year. And all the projects that improve the water quality will be, again, a priority, including emerging contaminants other than PFAS. So if anybody has any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Maria, I have just a quick question. So you said for funding to work with consultants, is this going to be pre-approved consultants as was done for the asset management plan program, or is there one consultant that the state's going to be using? Could you maybe explain that a bit?
Actually, the drinking water program will be managing this program, but so I'll let Yvette address it.
The intent is to have pre-approved consultants on a list, and we're still fine-tuning whether it's one or it's more than one. But we hope to have the information out relatively soon, and no later than the 15th of August.
And one other question, I know the 20 million for the bigger program, you said that was going to be sort of on a rolling basis. So how will that work? Like if, several large communities get in at the start, will there be any money for sort of medium-sized communities left, or how do you see the equitable distribution of that 20 million?
Well, this is the initial phase of this program. I suspect that we'll continue to fund it with next year's grant funds. We will be using a portion of the lead service line supplemental grant that we're getting from EPA. We're also using, and that will cover the projects for disadvantaged communities. All the other communities, we hope to be able to covered from the transfer of funds that we did a couple of years ago from Clean Water SRF to Drinking Water SRF. There are about 25 million or so left from that. So those funds will also supplement the program. So we will continue to accept applications until all the funding is consumed.
Thank you. Commissioner, I don't see any other questions related to that if you'd like to continue.
Sure. I think we're at a point where I think we've done all of our presentations, so maybe this is a time to open it up to see if there are any questions that have come in since we've started.
Sure, and I can just give a brief update also on the low income water assistance program. I did reach out to Ed Kiley at Department of Housing and Community Development, and unfortunately, the program's not off to a strong start. They put out the vendor agreement, and there were a number of questions that water systems had about that. So they do intend to put out an information memorandum correcting or addressing a few of the problem points in that vendor agreement. So that'll be coming out shortly. I think they've had some water systems who think it's a scam. It's not a scam. There is money available for low income ratepayers, and those are ones who qualify under the LIHEAP program. So, you know, if you have LIHEAP vendors reaching out to you to sign agreement, it truly is in your best interest to do so, to get that money for your low income ratepayers, because the way in which the program works is that the LIHEAP vendor will transmit you the money to pay down the arrearages that your customers may have. So it's a legitimate program. Please do take it seriously. It is designed to help you with your cash flow issues, and also, you know, get the arrearages paid for the low income ratepayers. So so do be on the lookout for that. To date, they've given away $0 to utilities, and so I know it was a big concern during COVID, and I know several utilities are working with DHCD to try to get that agreement in a place where they can sign it and be able to assist their ratepayers. So with that, I will open it up for any other questions that folks may have. You can type it into chat. If necessary, you could raise your hand or unmute and we can call on you. All right, I do see a hand raised. Josh Schimmel, go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Maria, a question for you just real quick. Is there any opportunity or consideration that on the drinking water side, the SRF limits may be raised from the $15 million cap that we've seen in the past, that we might be able to plan for more than that? It's just helpful as we plan for projects and how much we can do. We typically see a $15 million cap on the SRF, so we plan for that. And if we know in advance that that cap may be lifted with the influx of all this money, it would be helpful, because then we might be able to actually do a little bit more or use the monies a little differently and approach projects a little differently. So the $15 million cap is a limiting factor for us and others all the time. So if that's going to change, it'd be good for us to know, or something that you should consider with the amount of infrastructure needs everybody has. So don't need an answer, but just something to consider.
Yes, thank you. That will definitely, we will take a look at the capacity, and also it depends on the demand, and we'll take that into account. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see another hand raised. Todd, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, I was wondering, this is for Commissioner and Jane Downing. Have we gotten any sort of definition on best effort on the lead copper service lines? If there are known, what actions are defined as best efforts to determine whether they are or not lead service lines?
So this is Jane. I don't have that answer. I think I would look to the guidance to explore that. And I personally haven't seen the guidance yet, so hopefully it will come out soon and you'll get some specific stuff in there.
Okay, I see another hand raised. Paul, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for this quarterly meeting, guys. I think these are helpful to get some information, from DEP and the other organizations out to all the different water groups. So I thank everybody for taking the time for being on this meeting. Just a couple of things with the SRF program. It sounds like everything that we've been hearing, there's going to be a fair amount of influx into the program for PFAS lead service removal and other things, whether it be by the bipartisan infrastructure law or anything like that. I think sometimes, speaking for ourselves, it's tough for us to overall try to plan our our activities a year or two out, not knowing potentially what type of possible forgiveness there could be or anything like that. Debt service, is Fall River, we carry an extremely high debt service between our CSO program and water main replacement and lead service removal program we've been doing for years. I'm very familiar with the SRF program, and you guys do an excellent job. And I know it's tough sometimes getting out what the percentage for the EJC principal reduction might be, or what the other type of principal reduction grant funding there is. But if there is any way to get that information out earlier, so we can try to plan our debt service a little bit better, maybe before the June 30th, the appropriation deadline requirement, that would be helpful. So just kind of a note on that. I don't need any answers, but again, guys, thank you for this meeting. One other thing that I think I just want to bring up, and a lot of other departments that I talk to, is still the lack of properly licensed people within the field, as well as people that want to come into the drinking water or wastewater field. I know everybody is trying to reach out and trying different avenues to bring people into the field. But again, that still seems to be a common talking point between different types of organizations. So just wanted to bring those two things up, but thank you, guys.
Thank you. And I might see if Maria has anything to offer on the SRF comment that you made. I mean, this is one thing that we're confronting is, this is unique times and the good news is we have these resources coming to bear that hopefully we'll be able to make the best use of. The thing is, it's all happening fast, and we want to make sure that we're making the best use of the funding. And like I said, I'll turn it over to Maria in a moment. And on the the workforce, we're all attempting to identify ways in which we can point out to the next generation that this is an attractive field to be in, and frankly a good field to be in, both for the communities and for the individuals that end up working there. We're trying different things. Mike, hopefully with some of the approaches that the board is taking, to make training opportunities easier. We at DEP are constantly trying to look at different ways, whether it's through STEM programs or other outreach programs to, get people aware of these kinds of jobs, whether you're choosing to go to work for a municipality or even going to choose to go to work for us. There's efforts there, and that we're interested in continuing to keep working on it. But this seems like it's going to be a sustained effort, because we're continuing to experience what you're experiencing, that a lot of people are struggling to find people, and this particular job market is appears a little more challenging than in the past. So we need to keep working together on that. Maria, I don't know if there was anything you wanted to say further about the SRF comment.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I would suggest that you contact Nate Keenan at the Clean Water Trust. They have been given estimated projections based on what you know of the project at this time. Obviously, that's probably not a very accurate estimate, but at least it will give you an idea of what to plan for. They have been doing that, so
Okay.
reach out to him. Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely appreciate that. And just to touch on what the commissioner said too, Mike Maynard and the board, they've been very helpful, I think, through this whole entire time with the restrictions that they've lifted, and not restrictions, but the ability to be able to take courses remotely and everything like that. You know, I know we've been working with local high schools, local community colleges to try to get people in the field. I've been doing that, but I think the remote classes has helped a lot as well. So thanks.
Thanks, Paul. I will just say that we are working with New England Water Works also on sort of a regional workforce initiative. And so you may be hearing more about that. They're trying to hire a consultant to pull together a program that's similar to one that occurs out in California called Bayworks. So stay tuned for that. But I think it's a concern that shared not only in Massachusetts, but across the region, definitely. To that point, Mike Maynard, I did have a question that came in about whether or not there's any plan for ABC to offer the licensing exam to non-English speaking folks. Has there been any discussion about that at ABC?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll follow up with ABC and let you know.
Okay.
And one of the other things that, you know, we've been kicking around, you know, job placement and, you know, reaching out to high schools, voc techs. I know we work with Mass Water Works and we've worked with New England Water Works. It just seems to come down to an attractive wage. So, and I know that's a cop out, that's an economic cop out. But if somebody can, they find the same thing in wastewater. If somebody can make, you know, $16 to $22 an hour at, you know, making sandwiches with no licenses, no no requirements to take the exams, they're just going in another direction. So it seems to come down to me from, you know, working in it 20 years, it seems to come down to economics for the individuals who want to become operators. So we can continue to, you know, roll these programs out, but it just does not seem to be attracting the number of students or applicants that we want. So we've got a couple strategies and, you know, that we're working on with UMass for the smaller isolated systems, but it's just an ongoing issue. And we'll keep at it with the associations helping with any of the public water systems that have good ideas. We're willing to work with them. Thank you.
I'll just make one comment on what Mike said, and you know, it is an interesting point, and in some cases, you know, and in many cases, you know, these systems are offering you know, good wages as well as benefits and you know, retirement packages and other things. One of the things that we at DEP have been working on is, as we talk about recruiting a workforce or future workforce, a diverse workforce, is you know, taking a look at how we're actually advertising our positions and how much do we really say about things like benefits and pay. You know, if, you know, the bare bones announcement basically says apply for the job, and there's very little information in there about it. And we've been counseled by some of the people we're working with to, you know, think about saying more things about what the economic benefits actually are of a job like that. So we're starting to try that with some of our postings. And again, that's not the whole answer. Again, this is a problem that needs to be addressed at a number of levels. But you know, again, some of the advice we've received said that, you know, maybe in the initial advertisements we're doing, we give some thought to, being a little more explicit about the types of remunerations that people can get and the types of benefits that are offered.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions. One last opportunity. The commissioner does have to get off very shortly, so we are welcome to stay on. Kathy Baskin would be happy to answer any questions, but I'm not seeing any additional questions. Does anyone have any last minute questions? While you look to find the raise hand function, I will just say that our next call is scheduled for September 13th at 2 o'clock. Again, continuing with the quarterly schedule, which thank you, Paul, for recognizing this has been helpful. I echo that. I really appreciate that DEP makes themselves available for this call. It's sort of morphed into a more update on the program and the funding, but it's certainly a busy time in the world, and so glad that we can make this available and answer folks' questions in real time. Commissioner, any final words before you have to jump off?
No, I'll simply echo what you said. We find it helpful as well from the DEP standpoint. There is an awful lot going on, and the ability to engage trade notes and trade resources, I think, is more important now than ever. So we appreciate you, Jen, organizing this with Mass Water Works, and we're committed to keeping it going.
Great, thank you so much. So I don't see anything else. I will. I'll close out the meeting and we'll post the recording for folks who weren't able to make it and send that out. But thank you all. I hope you have a safe and enjoyable summer, and we'll reconvene September 13th, if not before, once we hear this big announcement from EPA. So we'll be looking forward to that tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll be seeing information as we delve into what that might mean here. So thank you all.
Thank you.